Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. So I figured that it was finally time to do another house tour. I did one of these when I first moved into where I'm living now, which was I think last February, so it's been over a year and I've had a lot of requests to do an updated one and I just had kind of been putting it off, but I figured, you know, it's finally time to do it, so that's what we're gonna do today. So without further ado, I think we can just go ahead and get right on into it. I'm going to be showing you guys around the whole, you know, my whole living area. I'm going to be showing you all of my pets here as well as just some of my other stuff, so hopefully you guys enjoy it. We're gonna head right on out to my living room area because that's where we're going to start. So the first thing that I want to show you guys is my reef tank here, and the reason why I want to do this first is because if you can't tell, it kind of makes my whole house blue, which isn't ideal for filming, so I want to show you guys this so I can turn the lights off and then do the rest of the house. So this here is my 75-gallon reef tank. I'm going to adjust the lights on this real quick because the blue lights aren't great for filming. The camera tends to pick them up a little weird, so let's adjust the lights real quick. Okay, so I adjusted the lights so you can kind of see everything a little bit better now, but as I said, this is a 75-gallon reef tank. This has been set up for about a year now, and despite it being a year old, the stocking in this tank is very minimal. I do have 2 phantom clownfish and a canary wrasse, you can see here. In this tank somewhere is also a Tomini tang, but he does hide a fair bit in the crevices of the rocks and stuff, so we may not see him, but he is in there somewhere. And then on top of the fish, we do have quite a few corals in this tank. There's a bubble coral, a torch coral, a Duncan coral, and a green star polyp back there. And then if we move over here, I have a Welso, a torch coral, a Favia, a green star polyp, a hand leather coral. I have this frog spawn, some zoas, and down in the bottom there we have a elegance coral who has not opened in months, so this coral isn't really doing too well, but it's still alive, it's just not opening. So there is the tank. So now we can move on to the rest of the place. So out here is sort of a living room area. I don't really use it a ton, but there is a couch and everything you can see here, and I do have my lovely little sloth on here, but the main focus of this room is probably the pets that are in it. So let's take a look at all of these enclosures. So first off, right here we have my carpet chameleon George. I do really need to do an update video on him because there have been some stuff that have gone on with his health recently that I need to update you guys on. You can see all of his medications to the side right here, and because of his health issues I have had to move him into a smaller enclosure to accommodate some things that are going on. I'll do a full update video on this soon, but just know that's why his enclosure is smaller than it used to be. It is for his health. But there's George right back there. He's basking, which is why he's a little darker than normal. So that is George's enclosure and George. Then over here we just have this little shelf with some decorations on it. So I do have some bamboo plants. The other ones on here are fake succulents. And then just some random other little things here. This is like a little jellyfish, which is really neat. And then over here we have Pascal, my veiled chameleon's cage. I really hate this cage, honestly. I just have tried so many times to set it up in a way that I really like it, and I just never end up loving it, so I really plan on redoing this enclosure soon, but this is what it looks like for now. So this is 3 feet long, 3 feet deep, and 6 feet tall, so it is a really big enclosure for him, but he definitely loves it. I don't really know where he is right now, but he's in there somewhere. Oh, I found Pascal. He's back behind this plant there, so probably not gonna see a whole lot more than his arms, but there he is in his cage. And moving over here are some of my absolute favorite enclosures that I have. So these here are all actually DIY enclosures as well as Pascal's cage. So I designed all of these cages myself, and then my dad helped to build them. So these cages are all 4 feet long, 2 feet tall, and 2 feet wide, all all 3 of these, so they're equal to 120 gallons. I do have a video on how to build these cages, so I will link it in case you guys are interested, because a lot of people do seem to like these cages. So down on the bottom we have Bella, my blue-tongued skink. I'll open up her cage so you guys can see her. She's out here basking right now. So her enclosure is completely bioactive. It's full of different plants and stuff, and she really likes it. I think it's a really great enclosure for her. She has this super awesome background from Universal Rock. I absolutely love their 3D backgrounds. They're super neat. They will be linked in the description if you are interested. But there is Bella's enclosure. Moving on up here, we have Lex, my bearded dragon. So this is her enclosure here, and here's Lex. So this is kind of in her basking area. She's not directly under her lamp, but this is her warm side of the cage, and over here is the cool side. I do also want to point out that there is UVB in here. Same with my blue-tongued skink. They're just mounted to the top, so you can't see them very well, but it is there. So this is Lex and her enclosure. I do kind of want to redo this. I have been considering bioactive cages for my bearded dragons, but I do still need to do some research on it. But I don't know, I just find this cage a little bit boring. I would like to give her more opportunities to be more active and stuff, so that's something I'm looking into. And up at the top here is the cage that I have built for my Ackie monitor. So I don't actually have my Ackie yet. I'm getting it within the next few days. I believe it's coming on Wednesday. I'm not sure what day this video is going up, but I'm getting my monitor on Wednesday, and this is the enclosure here. So there are still a few things I need to finish, because as you can tell, there is no vents on the cage. If you look at these cages, you can see I have vents on the side. This one is just an open hole right now, so I do need to add the vents on here. And I do also need to get the UVB placed in here, which I have right over here. But the reason that I haven't put the UVB light in yet is because when I first get my monitor, he will be going into quarantine, so I'm going to need the UVB light on his quarantine cage before it goes into this cage. So my monitor isn't going directly in this cage when I get him, but I do have the cage set up and ready for the most part for when it is good for him. So this is also a completely bioactive cage. It is debatable whether this will even work for an Ackie, because they do require such warm temperatures that a lot of the times the plants won't survive, and they do dig a lot, so a lot of the times they uproot plants. But I really wanted to go and try it out because it could work, who knows, and if it doesn't, I'll just switch over to fake plants. So in this cage, there's a ton of different wood because these guys do love to climb, so I gave him a lot of different opportunities in here. This cage does also have around 8 inches of substrate. These guys do need that to burrow in, and he also has a Universal Rocks background, which again, I love them. And then just a ton of stuff going on in the cage. There's plants and leaf litter and wood and all of that stuff, so I'm really excited to get my Ackie and to see what he thinks of this enclosure. So that pretty well concludes it for this area of the house. If we turn over here, that room right there is just a furnace room, so we don't need to look there. That is my bedroom, which we will take a look in later. So now we will head on into this room, which is my main reptile room. So when you walk into the reptile room, the first thing you'll probably notice is this big shelving system here. So this is a shelving unit that my dad built me to accommodate all of these exoterra cages, and each one of these cages has a different snake in it. So here we have my children's python cage, my sand boas cage, and my Brazilian rainbow boas cage. Obviously my Brazilian rainbow boa is a baby because they do need bigger cages than this as adults, but this is it for now. So this cage here is all bioactive and it's doing really well, and so is my boa. Then these 3 cages here all belong to ball pythons. So we have Toby, we have Casper, and we have Angel. And then if we move on to the last row, we have Titan, who is a ball python, we have Medusa, who is a ball python, and then we have Rocky, who is a Pueblan milk snake. You'll notice that I have some enclosures on top of this shelf as well. So here we have Dorito, my crested gecko's cage. Then we have Derek, my gargoyle gecko's cage, and then we have Mark, my standing stay gecko cage. So all three of these cages here are bioactive. I really love these cages. I think that Derek's is probably my favorite, but I really like how they all turned out. And then on the other side of the room, we do have some more enclosures, so we'll take a look at these now. So on the top here, we have my Amazon tree boas cage. Then we have my Lechianus gecko cage and my Chihuahua gecko cage. So these are obviously for juvenile geckos because as adults, these guys will need much larger cages. But since they're babies right now, they do really well in these 12 by 12 by 18s. So I really like how these are going for them. These cages are currently full of fake plants. I would like to switch them to live plants, but since I know that they'll be needing upgrades within the next few months, since they are growing relatively fast, I didn't really see a whole lot of point in going for a full bioactive setup in a cage that I know is temporary, but once they are in their adult setups, I will be switching them over. I almost completely forgot this cage, and then here we have my pink toe tarantula next to my Chihuahua gecko. Then over here we have one of my leopard gecko cages. So this cage here belongs to Sushi. So she has one of these Universal Rocks backgrounds as well, which she absolutely loves. She loves climbing on it. She has a ton of fun. You can see her right down there hiding under that piece of cork, but sticking her head out to say hello. Then over here we have my viper gecko cage. So I don't actually have any viper geckos yet. They are an animal that I'm looking to get, but I have not yet gotten. But I have the cage all set up and ready for them when I do happen to get them. Obviously the water dish is empty, but that's just because there's nothing living in here yet. But this is the cage which I have set up for my hopefully future viper geckos. And moving over here, we have another leopard gecko cage. So this one here belongs to Pepper, who you can kind of see over here having a nice little nap. But this is her enclosure. Again, she has a Universal Rocks background, which she also loves climbing on. And then if we move down here, once again, we have another leopard gecko cage. So this cage belongs to my leopard gecko, Alani, and you might be able to tell that this cage looks quite a bit different than my other leopard gecko cages. That's because I've recently decided to experiment with bioactive cages for leopard geckos. So I started with one cage first because I wanted to see how I liked it, and I really liked it. So I do plan on switching my other geckos over to bioactive cages. Hopefully that'll be done soon. It can be expensive because you need to buy the substrate and a ton of other stuff, but that is a switch I plan on making because I really loved how this one turned out and my gecko's doing really well in it. And over here we have my Asian forest scorpion enclosure. So this belongs to Merlin, my Asian forest scorpion. This cage has a few inches of substrate for him to burrow in. He has some cork grounds that he can hide in, which he really likes. And then throughout the cage, there's just a lot of other stuff like leaf litter that he can hide under. And yeah, he seems to really like this enclosure. It's working fairly well for him, so that's his cage. And then moving over here, we have Daisy, my African fat tail gecko enclosure. So hers is a nice bioactive setup. I find African fat tail geckos do really well in bioactive cages because they do have that higher humidity requirement, and they really love to have a lot of plants and stuff in their tank that they can hide in and explore around. It really helps make them feel secure, so she does really well in this enclosure. And then down here we have one of my bioactive corn snake enclosures. So this enclosure does have a lot of clutter in it, but I find it's really good for these snakes. It gives them a lot of enrichment. So there is a hide in the back there. There's a cork round, this bamboo round. There's some live plants in here. There's a piece of mopani wood. There's a piece of grapevine, and obviously the water dish and plants and everything. So this is Ghost enclosure. Moving on over, we have Sandwich, my chubby frogs enclosure, and I'm aware there's some dirt dirt in the water dish, and that's because Sandwich likes to crawl in there and sit in there. Sandwich is currently underneath his water dish. He likes to hide under there sometimes. I think it makes him feel nice and secure, although he does have these pieces of cork which he can hide in. If you couldn't tell, there's kind of like random holes throughout the enclosure, and that's because Sandwich likes to dig some holes to hide in. So yeah, there's a few different holes throughout that Sandwich uses to hide in, but this is Sandwich's cage. And then over here we have my other bioactive corn snake enclosure. So this one does have one fake plant in it, and that's just because I did have a plant in that back corner there, but it died, and then I found it was really empty looking, so I just put that there until I can get another plant to put back there. But this is Tangerines Cage. You can see Tangerine in this cork round back there. But this cage does have a hide over there. There is that cork round in the back, and then there's a bamboo hide up the front. There's some different wood throughout the cage, mopani and grapevine, and a few different plants, and once again, a water dish. And underneath my rack is where I keep all of my isopods, and I do have some feeder insects under here. So over there, I have some powder orange isopods. I have some zebra isopods. I have some dwarf white isopods, powder blue isopods, dairy cow isopods. And then these here are my superworms and mealworms, and then over here I have some springtails and some dwarf purple isopods. In the very back of the room here, I do just have this step stool in case I needed to get up high, and my Mist King system is also back here. So this is the reservoir for the Mist King, and the pump is down there with the timer right there. And this Mist King does run to 6 different cages. It runs to all 3 of these and all 3 of these. And then these bins right back there just hold some of my supplies and stuff. So that's where I keep all my extra plants and substrate and wood and whatnot. That's what all those bins are there. And then lastly, in the reptile room here, I just have these drawers which have some storage and stuff in them. So this is where I keep a lot of food. So I have a lot of different Rapashi and some Arcadia supplies and vitamins and whatnot. So that's basically just what that drawer is, just storage, which is primarily food, and then a garbage can. So that's about it for the reptile room. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing that. So this is what the rest of the house looks like. So there's obviously the fish tank there, which I showed you guys before I turned the lights off. Over here is just some stuff that I'm going to be using in some cages and whatnot that I need to redo or set up. So I do have a few plants over here. These 2 are some Schefflera plants or umbrella tree plants. Here I have some pieces of wood which are super awesome. I believe they're manzanita wood. I was given these by another YouTuber, the King of DIY. He gave me these pieces of wood, which is really awesome. I appreciate it a ton because these pieces are so cool. And then over here I just have a Majesty Palm, and over here I have my Goldfish Tank, which I'm not excited about showing right now because it's a little bit cloudy if you couldn't tell. Basically what happened here is I did a water change on it earlier, and the filter broke. So there are 2 filters on this tank, and if you couldn't tell, only one of them is running, and that's because this one completely broke, and when it did break, everything that was in the filter spit out into this tank, and then it made it kind of cloudy. All of the parameters are fine, like everything is like, you know, good. There's no ammonia, no nitrates or anything. It's just a little bit cloudy, but I'm hoping as soon as I replace that filter that it'll clear up. So hopefully that's the case. But here's my goldfish tank. So there are 3 goldfish in it right now. I have 2 black moors, and then I have this one here who's a little oranda. And they do have an Amazon sword plant. Goldfish tanks are kind of hard to do a lot with because plants can be hard to keep with them because they tend to uproot them and everything. I've had success with this one. I've had this plant in here for a 1.5 years. So this plant's doing really well, but a lot of people don't have any success with plants in goldfish tanks at all. And then it's hard to do anything when it comes to like driftwood and stuff because goldfish are clumsy and they're known for injuring themselves on tank decor. So this is what their tank looks like. Over here is just a little kitchen area. There's a fridge, a microwave, and all that. There is some more plants up here, which I'm planning on using in some enclosures that I'll be setting up. A lot of people asked me in my last tour what I use for a stove or anything because they didn't have one, and the answer to that is there is a stove upstairs. I never really show the upstairs of my house because all of my stuff is just down here. This is where all the animals are, so this is really just what people care about. But for those of you wondering where my stove is, it's upstairs. And then over here we have this little bookshelf which I keep some stuff on, which I really like. So up at the top here I have two pieces of art which I really love. There's this painting of some rabbits that I had made for me, and then I have this plate with chameleons on it, which I think is so awesome. This was made to me by a girl named Susan. I will link her page in the description below if you guys want to check out her art. She does a lot of stuff chameleon related, but this plate here, it just has my chameleons on it. So it has Pascal up there, and then these two here are of George. So this is a super awesome piece of work, and I love having it out on display like this. And then if we move down here, I just have some other little random pieces. So a lot of this is just like random decor from IKEA. And then I have this little sewn, I don't know if there's like a proper word for this, but it's like a sewn picture of George. And down here, again, just a little bit more decor. There's a little jar that I keep some coins and stuff in, decor from IKEA. And then I have this picture that my boyfriend gave me of two rabbits, which I think is super adorable. And down on the bottom here, I have these two aquariums. They're 4-gallon cubes, which I bought and then never ever did anything with, but I would like to use them at some point. So I just have them down here kind of stored doing nothing, but there is that. So that's what this area of my house looks like. It's pretty just empty besides these random plants and wood. Over here is just the door to the laundry room, and then that's the door to the bathroom. And over here is the door to my small pet room, which I'm actually not going to show you because there's some things going on in there which are a surprise. And if I did a full tour of that room, it would give it away. So if you wanna, you know, see what the whole surprise is and everything, make sure you stick around because I'll do a video on that soon. So I'm not gonna do a full tour, but I will show you my pets that I have because I'm sure you guys wanna see them. So let's go ahead and see all the pets that I have in there. Okay, so the first pet I'll show you is Pumpkin, who is my Syrian hamster. This is his cage right here. It is a Critter Nation cage, which I've modified to be a hamster cage. So this cage does measure around 860 square inches. I believe it's 864 to be exact, but let's take a look at it. So he is still sleeping, I believe. He's in this hide right here. He is moving though, so he's awake. He might come out, but Pumpkin is in there. So over here, he has this wooden hide, which is where he spends most of his time. Over here, he does have this Carolina storm wheel, and over here is another little grass hut. So his cage is a more naturalistic theme. So there's some different kinds of wood and stuff in this cage. So there's a piece of mapani wood, there is some cork wood, and a piece of grapevine all kind of throughout the bedding here. There are a few like different chew toys in here as well. There's a little whimsy chew. Over here, he has this water bottle, which is crooked. And then over here is his sand bath. Oh, hello, Pumpkin. Look who's waking up. So Pumpkin was my first hamster I ever got. He is over 2 years old now. On June 11th, it will be 2 years since I got him. So he's a little old man, but I love him so much. His food dish is over here. I do scatter feed him. I do also put some food in the dish just to make sure, you know, there's always food available in case for whatever reason he can't find the food that is being scatter fed. But I do like to scatter feed for enrichment. And he's going to have a snack. So over here we have my rabbit Sunny. And then we have Thumper right here. It looks like he's going to hang out with the sloth. And lastly, we have Peanut. And then we have my hedgehog Chip. Sorry for this like horrible angle. He likes to sleep underneath of his wheel. Oh, is he gonna come up? Hello. And there is Chip, my hedgehog. You can see his eye there is kind of white. That's because he does have cataracts. So he is completely blind in both eyes, but he's still a happy little dude. Hello, Chip, how are you doing? Oh, that was so cute. Okay, well that was pretty well it for my house tour video. I really hope that you guys enjoyed seeing this. I hope you guys enjoyed the updated version of this. A lot has definitely changed since my last one, so it's cool to see all the changes. It's cool to like look back and compare because I definitely think I made a lot of improvements since last year. So with all of that said, thank you guys so much for watching. I really do hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to give it a big thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Also be sure to check out all of my social media. Everything will be down in the description below. I would love to have you guys over there. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching and I will see you all in my next video.